There's currently a push from the community that could end Terra Luna Classic. Do you guys really want to jeopardize everything we've built? Right now, there are a lot of people in the community pushing for democracy in the sense that validators vote based on their delegators' wishes. Now, this sounds like a good idea initially, however, there's a couple key issues with this that we need to discuss. The first main issue is that the way that this has been done so far, at least the way I've seen it done by a couple different validators, is through Twitter polls. First major problem with this is that the people voting these Twitter polls are not necessarily delegating with those validators. It could be other people who are delegating with other validators who are voting because they want this validator to vote along with them. There's also an educational gap that's creating a lot of problems here. We have some people who understand the basics of the Terra Luna Classic ecosystem. We have other people who don't bother to research some of the most critical features about the Terra Luna Classic ecosystem. They also don't research anything about the proposal and going into the nuances. They basically hear a Twitter write-up, a 1 or 2, maybe 3 sentence write-up. They get the key 1 or 2 points, and then they vote based off those key summary points. Now, to be clear, there are a lot of people within the community who are educated, who do read proposals, who do stay up to date. And so it's kind of unfortunate that we have to suffer because of those who don't take the time and don't bother to do this, and they just vote blindly. However, that's just the reality. Now, there was pushback on this. There's a lot of pushback saying that validators should do this and should vote based off Twitter polls, and that if they vote against what the community wants or the delegators want in those Twitter polls, that then they're going against their delegators and people should unstake with them. This is where I decided to launch a Twitter poll to prove why this just doesn't make sense. So I crafted this Twitter poll very carefully the other day, and let me explain why this is crafted so carefully and how I did this in a way to try and ensure that we get a clear answer as to if Twitter polls are valid or not. So in this Twitter poll, I talked about the Oracle pool. Now, this is one of the top 5 most critical things about the Terra Luna Classic ecosystem. The Oracle pool is what distributes the rewards for staking and it gives validators a reward. So without the Oracle pool, there is no staking rewards. Validators get no money back, and so they're burning $500+ every single month to run their validator nodes. So of course, nobody's going to do that, especially without any future prospect of making money off their validator nodes. So essentially, without the Oracle pool, no staking rewards, no validators, the network's kind of screwed. People should know this is a core element of the Terra Luna Classic ecosystem. So in this, I set it up. Hey, the Oracle pool has roughly 280 billion Terra Luna Classic or $43 million worth in it. What should we do with it? Should we just give it away as option 1? That's obviously bad because then the balance goes away. Should we just burn it all? This plays off that burn narrative again, where people take the 1 or 2 key points and they run with that idea. And obviously you guys can see the results there of what happened with the burn narrative. Again, really bad idea. Or option 3, just leave it be. Now, in my opinion, it's pretty clear. If people knew what the Oracle pool does, they would not vote to burn it. However, beyond just people not knowing what the Oracle pool actually does and why it's so important that led them to vote for burning it, in addition to that, instead of deciding, hey, I don't know what this is, I'm going to choose to leave it alone because I shouldn't be messing with something I don't understand, they decided to go with the burn it option. And again, this is not something small. This is not something that's a couple $1,000s. This is $43 million that they're voting on here in this situation. Instead of knowing what they're discussing and voting on, they just went with the burn it option. Instead of playing the safe route of, hey, I don't know, so I'm going to choose to just leave it alone, they went with the burn option. And so again, this really stinks for those of us who do our research, who learn about what these things are, because we have people in the community, unfortunately, who don't do the research and they end up picking on these different options. And to be fair, maybe there are some people who would do the research who just didn't know and they picked burn it, but there are definitely going to be some people out there who just don't bother to do the research regardless of how much information is given to them and how easy it is to digest that information. And so this is why, in my opinion, Twitter polls are not at all valid and should not be used as validators. They could be simply a data point. Validators could have a mindset of using this as a data point to gauge the general sentiment within the community, but that's all it should be, is a data point. It should not be the hard, fast rule of whatever this poll comes out is how I'm going to vote. That's a horrible idea in my opinion, because it's very clear and evident that even on something so critical as the Oracle pool, people don't know about it and they don't bother to learn or bother to default to a safe option. Instead, they go with the easy narrative that they're familiar with. And I'm pretty scared because if I picked a totally random set of money or random wallet address and say, should we burn it? I think that would go over 80% because, again, people don't know about that at all. At least some people knew about the Oracle pool and voted to leave it. If validators do want to actually vote based on what their delegators want, they should have some kind of test system. So in this case, it should be something that says, like, what does the Oracle pool do? And it has 4 multiple choice options. If they pick the right one, then they're able to cast a vote on a proposal. If they pick the right one, then they'd be able to cast a vote on a proposal. This weeds out anybody who doesn't know what they're talking about, because that's the downfall really of this kind of a system, is you have so many people who don't know what they're talking about voicing an opinion that that could screw over the entire ecosystem. And this again is why validators are so important to our ecosystem, is because they handle these votes for us. We can select a group of just over 100 people to then essentially determine the future of the ecosystem. That means we only need to educate 100 people. We don't need to educate tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of community members. If you want to learn how to stake your Terra Luna Classic to a validator that's going to look out for your best interests, check out this video up here.